Hey guys, today I want to talk about the new USB DAC that I got. This is the Shanling UA2 and I want to do a comparison and just show you guys a few notes that I've made between this DAC and a few of the DACs that I've owned before in the past, as well as a few other DACs on the market. I've owned a few different USB DACs in the last few years. I just never really did videos on those, and the reason is because, well, you can see that they're just pretty small devices. There's nothing really to unbox here, and it's really hard to demonstrate them because they're really meant for headphones. But still, I want to talk about this device because I feel like not enough people on the market know about the Shanling UA2. This is a really good value USB DAC. I think it is probably one of the best, if not the best value USB DAC on the market right now. So Shanling is this Chinese audio company. I would say that they compete with FiO and Hydits and iBasso and these other NKN and these other Chinese audio companies. And they provide really good value for the price. They make DACs, amps, DAPs, digital audio players. I've owned one of their DAPs in the past, the M0, which is a small iPod Nano type of DAP. Generally, their products are very good value, just like FiO's and the other Chinese companies. I do think that these Chinese companies are not like the typical, no-name brand companies you'll find on Amazon or Alibaba. They're actually, I would say they're pretty name brand companies that, make a name for themselves by making pretty decent quality components, pretty decent quality devices at affordable prices. So if you look online, you'll see a lot of people very satisfied with their FiO's and Shanlings. So it's a bit about this company here, a bit of background on that. So you can see that this is a USB-C DAC, and the reason why you might want one is if you have a smartphone, and a lot of smartphones these days don't have 3.5mm headphone jacks, or even if they do have a 3.5mm headphone jack, you might not be satisfied with the audio quality you're getting from them, because most smartphones these days do not have very good DACs or have very mediocre DACs inside of them. They're not going to, I mean, they're okay for what they are, but they're not going to be up to the same level as a dedicated media player, right? Like a DAP. There was only one phone manufacturer that actually made some pretty decent, that put some decent DACs in their phones, which is LG, right? LG actually did put some pretty decent DACs in their phones, but unfortunately LG is no longer making phones. Rest in peace. So yeah, basically all the phones on the market now have very mediocre audio chips to them, which is why you might want one. So yeah, this is the UA2. They actually make two DACs. They make the UA1 and the UA2. The UA1 is also pretty affordable as well, and I do have it here. We can do a comparison later. But the UA2, this is their higher price version, and I say that relatively speaking because this is only 85 bucks, so it's not that expensive. This is 85 bucks. The UA1 is only 45 bucks, so they're both reasonably affordable. This one comes with an ESS Sabre ES9038K2M DAC in it, which is a very good DAC, and has support up to 32-bit 768 kilohertz. That's extremely high fidelity, extremely high quality, high resolution. DSD 512, and it has balanced output as well, balanced 2.5mm and single-ended 3.5mm headphone outputs. So it's got balanced and unbalanced outputs, which is very nice for those of us who use balanced headphones. And USB audio class 2 and 1 compatible. Okay, cool. So I think it's very good value for what you get. So again, this is only 85 bucks. This is what you get in the little packaging here. This is the DAC itself. You can see UA2, 32-bit 768 kilohertz. Again, this is extremely high resolution. I don't really have any files that have this high of a resolution, but maybe some people might. I don't even have DSD like 256, let alone DSD 512. But DSD 512, extremely high resolution, yes. So this can go up, like at this point, like you have to have extremely good ears to even hear a difference, honestly. But yeah, even DSD 512 is obviously like, yeah, that is a very, very high res file. Nothing in the back, but you have USB-C inputs and outputs here. So USB-C input and output, and then you have a balanced 2.5mm out and a unbalanced 3.5mm. Would have been nice if they supported the other unbalanced standard, which is 4.4mm, which is what Sony supports. The 2.5mm is what you'll find, in my experience, on Astell and Kern players and stuff like that. And I can compare actually to my Astell and Kern player later, but yeah, this is 2.5. It would be nice if they supported 4.4 like Sony does. Also comes with USB-C to USB-A adapter here. And then in here comes with the USB-C cable, which you need to connect to pretty much anything. You can connect it to a Nintendo Switch, and you can connect it to your smartphone, which is how most people will use it, I think. You can connect it to your computer using this USB-C input. And then you have a quick start guide here. It's honestly like, don't even need this, because it's, you know, what kind of instructions do you really need to use this kind of thing? It's a dongle, right? It's very simple to use, and you get warranty here. Then you get like little high-res stickers. Okay, so high-res audio certification, all it means is that it's recognized by the Japanese Audio Association as being capable of handling more than 24-bit 96 kilohertz. That's it. So it doesn't really mean a lot, because most DACs, if not all these DACs that you can get on the market right now, can handle more than 24-bit 96 kilohertz. So not a big deal, but it's just nice to have that sticker, I guess. This is the DAC right here. Now it's very hard to demonstrate to you the differences between different DACs, because again, it's mostly evident with headphones, which is very hard to show in a YouTube video. I can use my speaker. I'm not sure how much difference you hear using the speaker. Obviously a headphone is the best, but hey, maybe you guys can listen to this YouTube video using headphones. Maybe you'll be able to hear a difference. So yeah, maybe I'll do that. But first of all, let's do a comparison between this and some of the other DACs I've owned. So I actually own the Shanling UA1. So the UA1 is this is a DAC that I got earlier this year. This is the lower model in their lineup here. It's only 45 bucks. And still very nice performance. It's actually the very same DAC that's in the LG G8X phone that I did a video on last year. And it's also the same DAC that's in the Shanling M0, which is the DAP that I bought from them before. So first, let's go over some of the different USB DACs that I've owned before in the past. So the first USB DAC that I've owned was the Creative E5, and I actually did a video on this way back in 2016. I believe this was my first one. It used a 24-bit 192 kilohertz DAC with 120 decibel signal-to-noise ratio, and it uses a CS4398 Cirrus Logic DAC chip, which was it was an okay chip for the time. It definitely wasn't the flagship chip or anything, but it was okay for the time. And I can do a spec comparison between all these different DACs on a spreadsheet later for you guys, just to lay it all out for you guys, as well as the different competitors on the market, like the THX Onyx and the AudioQuest Dragonfly DACs, so you guys get a good comparison. But yeah, that was the very first USB DAC that I owned. So the Creative E5 wasn't just a DAC, it was also a headphone amp as well, and it could drive a lot of high impedance headphones, I think up to 600 ohms or something like that. So some of these USB-C DACs are just DACs, and others they incorporate a headphone amp in it. So you gotta look at the different DACs and the descriptions of them and see if they actually contain a headphone amp, because some of them do and some of them don't. And if you have high impedance headphones, then some of these DACs may not be able to drive them and others can't. So you really got to be careful of that. So yeah, the Creative E5 was a combination USB DAC and amp. Now the next one that I was interested in is the Creative Super X-Fi amp. And this one was released back in late 2018 and I got it early 2019. This one is pretty unique. So this is not just a DAC and a headphone amp. It also incorporates some sort of virtual surround 3D technology in it. So it's kind of similar to what you might experience on a computer with the Dolby Atmos. You know, there's a Dolby Atmos plugin on the Windows computers, right? So you can buy it from the Windows Store. And DTS:X Unbound is another kind of, I would say, codec or kind of plugin that you can buy on the Windows Store to enable it on your PC. So it's similar to that, similar to Dolby Atmos and DTS:X Unbound and THX Spatial Audio and was it Creative EAX, all these different sound effects, Waves NX. There's a whole suite of different virtual surround effects, but Super X-Fi is pretty unique and it's gotten pretty good reviews. And I tried it out, and it's very interesting. It's almost like it's hard to explain, but it would be like increasing the sound stage. It's like if you have a pair of headphones and you're going from a closed back earphone to an open air like pair of headphones, right? It's increasing the sound stage a lot. However, I feel like it's not all positive because it also, like on certain types of music, it's not really a good effect. Like it might be adding this kind of echo effect, which is really, kind of weird. So that's why I ended up not keeping it. So it is a very interesting effect. Like it does increase the soundstage, right? It makes it wider. I don't know what other better way to explain it. It just makes the sound wider. But it's not necessarily a good effect because whatever music that you're listening to, so you're listening to it in straight stereo, like it becomes less powerful in a sense. And yeah, when you like open up the soundstage like that, usually like naturally, you get the full power, right? But I feel like the Super X5 sounds a little bit too processed. Like I think the effect is pretty good for movies. Like if you're watching movies and you're adding, you increasing the soundstage and you're using the Super X5 effect, I think it's fine. It does add a little bit there, but listening to music, I actually think it detracts from the music and it's not natural. So that's why I ended up not keeping it. And the DAC on it is the AK4377, which is, it's an okay DAC. It's not like a very high-end DAC or anything. And it's definitely one of the weaker DACs of all the USB DACs that I've owned. So the Super X5 amp by Creative, it has a very interesting effect. It doesn't have the best DAC on the market, and it's also pretty expensive. It's $150. So that's why I ended up not keeping it. And then last year I bought the Helm Audio Bolt, which is a DAC and an amp, and it was only $100, so I think it's reasonably affordable, not too bad. What's interesting about this one is that it doesn't list the DAC that they use. They don't list the DAC chip, so it's not, they don't say ESS, they don't say AKM or Cirrus Logic, Wolfson, they don't say any of that. So I'm not sure what DAC they exactly use, but listening to it, I think it's very similar to the UA1's DAC, which is the ESS 9218P. So I think it is, this is my hunch, I think it is the ESS 9218P, which is the exact same DAC that's on the Shanling UA1 and the LG G8X, because the sound signature sounds very familiar to me. But the reason why I think this one is a little bit more expensive compared to the UA1 is, first of all, this thing is MQA certified. So MQA is a company that you have to pay royalties to whenever you use, whenever you get their products like kind of certified so you can decode MQA. So whenever you can decode MQA, they make you pay a royalty to them. Yeah, a lot of people don't like MQA because of the royalties and the proprietary nature of it. And the secretive nature of it. And I mean, the founder of MQA is the same founder of Meridian Audio, so he definitely has some sort of profit incentive there. But anyways, it does unfold MQA streams, it decodes MQA. So that's part of the price, because whenever you make something MQA certified, you have to add that kind of royalty markup on top of it. And on top of that, it's also THX certified. So don't get me wrong, THX certified is a good thing because THX sets a certain standard, a certain level of standard for the performance of the DAC, so it has to meet like certain distortion levels and things like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than a product that's not THX certified. So a lot of people get this confused. They think THX certified is automatically better, but it's not automatically better. It's just the company voluntarily submits their product to THX to get it certified, but they had to pay price for that. Right, and then they add that price onto the end product, right? That's why I think it's a little bit more expensive. It doesn't necessarily mean that a product which is not THX certified is worse. It just means that they didn't volunteer to get it certified, right? They could have the same specs, but just, yeah, to get the certification, they're paying a little bit extra. So I think that's why the Helmbolt DAC and amp is just, it's $100, which is not too expensive, but still, compared to the Shanling UA1, the Shanling UA1 is only $45, and I think it has the exact same ESS chip in it. And the reason why the Helmbolt is double the price is because they had to add that MQA markup and THX certified markup on top of it. Of course, if you have MQA files, then go with the Helmbolt, right? But if you don't have MQA files, I don't have MQA files, I just listen to FLACs and stuff, then you don't really need to pay double for the Helm Audio Bolt. Which is why I ended up getting the Shanling UA1, right? Which I think is a really good value. I mean, it's only $45, and it has the exact same DAC, the ESS Saber ES9218P. That's the exact same DAC that's in the LG G8X phone. That's on the Shanling M0 DAP, and I think it's also the same DAC that's on the Helm Audio Bolt as well. So you're getting this for only 45 bucks. So very, very good value. And you can see how small it is, right? Very, very portable, although it's very easy to lose as well. Several times I had to really search around to find this thing. Yeah, I would usually like combine this with something else. Like I would combine this with my headphones or with like a 3.5mm cable so I don't end up losing this dongle. But yeah, I thought that this was a very good value, very good deal. So that's why I got it. And then the UA2 got announced and I took a look at it, and it's probably the best value I've ever seen. I mean, at 85 bucks, this is the best value DAC I've seen so far. I mean, this DAC, this uses an ESS ES9038 Q2M DAC. So this chip is the exact same chip that AudioQuest uses in their Dragonfly Cobalt. Yes, that is their top of the line USB-C DAC, right? Or USB DAC rather. And that's a $400 USB DAC, right? So you're talking about a $400 USB DAC. This is an $85 device. So, I mean, that's obviously very, very good value, right? So, I mean, AudioQuest is known for, you know, pumping up their prices and giving that kind of markup, but you can see here, right, when a Chinese company like Shanling comes up and doesn't have any of that marketing fluff on it, this is exactly how much it should cost, right? So yeah, you get the high-res audio support up to PCM, 32-bit, 768 kilohertz, like I mentioned, DSD 512, the highest res audio support that you can get right now, with a Recore RT6863 amplifier, so you can drive your high impedance headphones. Uses a USB-C connector right here, so you can connect to pretty much anything, your computer, Nintendo Switch, smartphone. And yeah, I mean, this is fantastic value, right? 85 bucks, exact same chip inside as the AudioQuest Dragonfly Cobalt. So I don't really know a good way to test this out right now, but I do have a speaker, and maybe you guys can hear some difference here. I'm not sure how much, but I want to provide at least some value here. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to try it out with the Shanling UA1, the $45 Shanling UA1, and then as a middle ground, actually, I have my Astol & Kern A Norma SR15, and this one uses a DAC that's kind of in between the UA1 and the UA2s. So this one uses it uses a Cirrus Logic CS43198, which should be in between these two ESS DACs. So I'm going to test it out with this, and then you guys can hear what it sounds like with the UA2. So I got my Motorola Razr Fold, which is currently my main music player right now, and I'm going to connect the Shanling UA1 DAC here, and I have my Bose SoundLink Revolve, and maybe you guys can hear some difference, maybe not. It's the best I can do really, because I can't exactly show you how it's like on a pair of headphones, right, or earphones. So it's the best I can do for YouTube. Anyway, so let's just play like a minute each time. Have the same volume every time. Okay, so this is the Shanling UA1. Try to listen with headphones if possible. Alright, so that is the Shanling UA1, which has the ESS ES9218P chip inside. Now let's take a look at my Astol & Kern. My Astol & Kern has a Cirrus Logic CS43198 chip inside. So that's the difference, and too bad we can't test the balanced out for these, but yeah. Okay, this is the Astol & Kern. that's the Astle and Kern. And finally, we're going to test out the Shanling UA2 with the ESS ES9038Q2M, which is the best DAC in theory, right, spec-wise, out of all these. All right. All right, so this is the Shanling UA2. Alright, so yeah, that's the different comparisons I can do right now. I'm not sure how much you guys can hear difference on YouTube, but especially using speakers. But yeah, I think that the Shanling UA2 is the best value DAC on the market right now. So I highly recommend it. I will also do a comparison just of different DACs on the market and give you guys my opinions on that. So stay tuned. Right, so here I have my spreadsheet of the current list of portable USB DACs on the market. If I'm missing one, then please let me know. These are the ones I think are pretty popular right now, and I just want to do a comparison between these ones and the Shanlings that I just bought. And keep in mind that these are portable USB DACs. There's a lot of USB DACs that are not that portable, like they're basically like bricks that you have to carry. So like companies like FiO, for example, make those kind of DACs, but to me, and Hi-Fi Man and all these other audio companies, but to me they're not that portable. Like I'm talking about like dongles basically. So it has to be dongle sized for it to make this list. Okay. So yeah, here I have the AudioQuest Dragonfly Black, the Dragonfly Red, and Dragonfly Cobalt all here. The Creative Super X5 amp, Helm Audio Bolt, Shanling UA1 and UA2, THX Onyx, which they just released recently, Razer I should say as well, since they own THX, and the Astle and Kern USB-C DAC, and the Hydits S9 Pro, which is kind of a new one that I just put in here as well, since I discovered it. So yeah, if I'm missing like any portable USB dongle size DAC, then let me know, but I think these are the ones that are pretty popular on the market right now. So I have the chipsets that they're all using, the DAC chips that they're using, the support, PCM support that they have. Let me make this clear, PCM support, because they also have DSD support as well. And the total harmonic distortion noise right here, and the dynamic range, whether or not they're THX certified, if they have MQA support, and what kind of DSD that they support, and if they have a balanced out. So yep, so you can see here I'm just doing this based on the value. You can see the cost right here is what the MSRP for. And so going across this list, what you'll notice is these guys, the Dragonflies, right, they're really like overpriced. Like the Dragonfly Black is the ESS 9010, has barely what would qualify as like high res. Basically this is the minimum that's required for high res certification, 24-bit 96 kilohertz PCM support, and the lowest specs out of all these, and they're charging $100 for it. So AudioQuest I think are always a ripoff, whatever they charge, and the $100, I mean, just compare this to the Shanling UA1, which has the ESS 9281 Pro, which way better support, just specs across the board, supports DSD. It doesn't support the MQA, I don't think. Like the Shanlings don't support MQA, but it's just a way better deal. So I just say don't go for the black. Just don't buy it. It's not recommended. Just not a good deal. Now the reds, $250, you get the ESS 9016, and it's really, if you compare this, yeah, it's slightly better than UA1, but it's not better by that much. And you're talking about
a product that costs what, 5 times as much as the UA1. Like that's kind of crazy. So like I think none of these are really good value. If you go into the Cobalt, you can see the Cobalt has the exact same chip as the UA2, which costs only 85 bucks. The Cobalt costs 400 bucks, right? And exact same PCM support. Only difference is that the Dragonfly Cobalt supports MQA. That's really the only difference. Oh yeah, it doesn't have a balanced out, whereas the Shanling UA2 actually has a balanced out. So yeah, the UA2 at 85 bucks is just a steal, I think. I mean, compare it to the Dragonfly Cobalt. The UA2, Dragonfly Cobalt, and the Hydits S9 Pro, these are the most powerful DACs on this list. And you can see the specs all here are pretty similar, except the UA2 is the cheapest out of all these. So 85 bucks. The S9 Pro is pretty good value as well. It's only 100 bucks. Like I said, these Chinese companies, they usually provide some pretty good value. So 85, 100, I would say the Shanling UA2 and the Hydits S9 Pro have pretty good value. Dragonfly Cobalt is just a huge ripoff, just like all the other Dragonfly products. Just look at how much they charge, and then look at their performance, right? It's just a joke, right? Now look at the Helm Audio Bolt, which is a little bit better. Still not as good value as the Shanlings or the Hydits, but it's definitely better than the Audio Quest. I mean, for value, it basically has the same chip as the UA1, but like I said in the video earlier, the reason why it might be double the price is because they're THX certified and MQA support. Although I don't think, like I said, THX certified doesn't matter too much. It's like these guys could all be THX certified. They're pretty much all can be THX certified just based on the specs. They just didn't opt to get that certification. So it doesn't really mean much to me. I think the Helm Audio Bolt is a better value than the Dragonflies, but still the Shanlings are better value. The creatives are not good value, but they provide something else as well. There is not just about the DAC that's inside it. Sure uses an AK DAC, which is only, it's not that bad actually. The AK DAC that's inside of there, it's actually like the higher DNR, the better, and the lower the THD, the better, right? So I would say that this is actually quite comparable to the Dragonfly Reds almost. So they're still pretty good value compared to the Dragonflies. I mean, 150 bucks. This is 250 bucks. The specs are pretty similar. The AK4377 to the 9016. I think this actually supports higher resolution. Okay, this one has a little bit less THD, but whatever. I mean, I think the Creative X Super X5 is actually pretty good, better than Dragonflies, but maybe not as good as the Helm Audio Bolts or the Shanlings in terms of value. But then again, you do get something else with this too. You get that open soundstage type of effect with the Super X5 effect. So that might be better for movies, like I said, if you watch a lot of movies. So there might be some extra value provided here that the other DACs don't have. So the Creative Super X5 amp is kind of unique in that sense. I'm not going to say that the Creative Super X5 amp is a bad value. It really depends on what you're looking for. It is definitely better value than these Dragonflies though. And then we go to the AK USB-C DAC, which I think is okay value. It's not the best value on here. It's not the worst value on here. It's just kind of in the middle. And it uses the exact same DAC as my AK player that I showed earlier. So that makes this comparison pretty simple actually, because I already kind of talked about that. So this uses the exact same chip, the CS43198 that I have in my DAP. So it has the exact same specs as my DAP. So 32-bit, 386. These specs are kind of middle of the ground here, which I think at 150, it's not as good value as the Shanlings or the Hydits, but it's definitely better value than the Audio Quest, and it's better value than the THX Onyx. And the THX Onyx is honestly what made me do this video in the first place, because I saw Razer release this product and I was like, no, they're charging 200 bucks for this. Like, I mean, look at what you're getting, okay? ESS9281 Pro is exact same DAC as in the UA1, right? The UA1 is 45 bucks. So you're paying 4 times as much for the THX brand name here, or the Razer brand name. Basically, they own the company, but you're paying 4 times as much for the THX brand name here. And exact same specs. What you're getting is THX certified and MQA support. Is that worth 4x the money? I don't think it is. So basically, you're paying four times the price of the UA1 for THX certification, which is basically, this is basically THX certified if they wanted to be. So it makes no difference there. MQA support, if you use MQAs, again, I highly recommend the Helm Audio Bolt. If you really want a portable USB DAC that supports MQAs, go for the Helm Audio Bolt, because that's only $100. Has the exact same chip as the THX Onyx, and it's half the price, right? So even this is a lot better value. So go for the Helm Audio Bolt if you really want the MQA support. If you don't need the MQA support, go for the UA1, right? It's just way better value. So the THX Onyx is one of the worst values on here. I think it's just as bad as the Dragonflies. So to me, the Dragonflies, all of them, and the THX Onyx, these are easily the worst value DACs on here, right? You're paying for the brand name and the marketing, basically. Because, I mean, this is the exact same chip as this one, 4 times the price. I mean, I get that they're using their AAA amp, whatever, like proprietary type of like technology that they have in there, but is that really worth 4 times the price? I don't think so. So yeah, that is basically my comparisons here. I still recommend the UA1 and UA2. I think these are by far the best values on here. $45 at $85, and what you're getting for that money is basically outperforming anything else. Like basically you're getting a chipset here in the specs that are worth probably double, sometimes even 4 times as much, right? You're talking about like Shanling UA1 is basically just as performant as the Onyx, which is at 4 times the price, and the UA2 is just as performant as the Dragonfly Cobalt at 4 times the price. So with the Shanlings, you're getting like portable USB DACs that perform as well as products that are 4 times the price. So that's really, really good value. So that's why I wanted to make this video. The high disc is also pretty good as well. If you guys can find it, maybe do a review on it. I have yet to see this one, but I think it's pretty good value as well. And yeah, for me, I think the Shanlings and maybe the high discs are probably the best out of here. Dragonflies and the Onyx are definitely the worst, and the AK and the Creative are somewhere in between. Alright, so I actually updated the spreadsheet with a few new DACs. I added the Hydits S3 Pro, and then this is one that a lot of people in the comments actually asked me to do, which is the Hibi FC3. They wanted me to do a comparison with this one as well. And both of these DACs are fairly affordable. They are under $100, so the Hydits S3 Pro $50, Hibi FC3 at $70, which are pretty good prices. And I also want to make a revision. I made a mistake before. The Shanling UA1 does not have the ESS9281 Pro. It has the ESS9218P, which is you can see how I got confused because the numbers are so similar. But honestly, it doesn't make too much of a difference, because if you look at these two chips, I did some research on these two chips, it's not all that different. I mean, there's about 2 decibels of THD plus noise. There's the UA1 slightly better by 2 decibels, and DNR, the 9281 Pro, is better by 1 decibel. Like, it's really not that big of a difference. I think the major difference for the ESS9281 Pro, though, is that it adds MQA support, whereas the ESS9218P does not. So I think that seems to be the major difference between the two, which is why I think the Helm Audio Bolt is actually using the ESS9281 Pro. It's because it has MQA support. And then the Hibi FC3, which people asked me to do a comparison on, is also using the ESS9281 Pro, which also adds MQA support. So I think now with these 2 revisions added in, I'll give you my thoughts on them. The Hydits S3 Pro at $50 is fairly comparable to the UA1, but the UA1's 9281P I think is still a little bit better than the 9218C here. I mean, just looking at the specs, they're pretty similar, but I think the UA1 at $5 less I think the P version of this chip is a little bit more capable. I mean, just going by, again, not too much of a difference, but still, like, yeah, it's a little bit better. So I think the UA1 still has a leg up over the S3 Pro. So I would still recommend it over this one. Now for the Hibi FC3, at $70, it beats out the Helm Audio Bolt, undercuts it by about $30. So I think these two are pretty much equivalent because they both support MQA. It looks like Helm Audio Bolt does not really advertise the chip that they use, but I have a feeling that it's the same chip as the Hibi FC3, but you're paying $30 more for what THX certified. Don't really think that's worth it. So if you're looking for an MQA capable USB-C DAC, I would actually recommend the Hibi FC3 now. So That's basically my recommendations now. So yeah, the TLDR of this is, if you're looking for a nice USB-C DAC that's very affordable and you don't care about MQA support, then the Shanling UA1 is still the one I recommend at 45 bucks. If you do care about MQA support, then I now recommend the Hibby FC3 over the Helm Audio Bolt because it undercuts it by 30 bucks. And if you're looking for really the top end USB-C DAC, I recommend the Shanling UA2. Alright, so I'm going to talk about a few more USB-C DACs that some commenters noted in the comment section and add them to this comparison here. So I got 4 USB-C DACs from this Chinese company iBaso and another 3 from this other Chinese company Musaland, which you can all find at AliExpress. In the iBasos you can find a Linsol, which is a really good Chinese retailer website, which I order a lot of my IEMs from. So we're going to do a comparison here. I looked up all their specs and their prices. Now the interesting thing about the iBaso, out of these two, the DC01 and DC02, is that the DC01 actually seems to be better than the DC02. Now I might be reading the specs wrong. I got these from the Linsol website, but the DC01 actually seems better even though it's actually less expensive. So I don't really get that. So there's only a $6 difference between them. I would say the other main difference between them is that, first of all, the DC01 uses a better DAC. The SI Kase 4493 is better than the AK 4490 of the DC02. So that's something that's kind of weird to me, is why the DC01 has a better DAC than the DC02. You would think that the DC02 would have a better DAC, right? But it doesn't. It actually has a worse DAC. And then the other main difference is that the DC02 is a regular 3.5 millimeter unbalanced single-ended output. DC01 uses a 2.5 millimeter balanced output. And I would say for the price, you know, if Linsol is to be believed, the prices are, this is the prices I had from the website, $47, less than $50 is really, really good price for these specs. For this stack, the SI Kase 4493 EQ is pretty good for this price. So that beats out even like the Shanling UA1, which I previously said was the choice for people who, you know, you just want a pretty good DAC for the budget, right? Less than 50 bucks. Shanling UA1 was very good. But if you're using a balanced headphone, then the DC01 is actually better, right? It's at 47 bucks, less than 50 bucks. This might be even better and has better specs and everything. So I actually think this one is the better option for people who are on a budget, but only if you have a balanced headphone, because this doesn't support, it only has a 2.5 millimeter out. Now DC02 is also really good. So at 53 bucks, I mean, it's barely more expensive and it's still really good too. And it's unbalanced. I just don't know why the DC01 has better specs and a better DAC than DC02, even though it's cheaper and it comes first in the range. I don't understand. All right, and then the DC03 and DC04, $5 difference between them. They both use Cirrus Logic chips, which are better than the SI Kases. But I think the main difference between these are pretty much the same. The only difference is that the DC04 uses a 4.4 millimeter balanced output, which is basically for Sony Walkman users. So if you own a Sony Walkman, like a Sony headphone basically, like a Sony headphone with a 4.4 millimeter balanced, then DC04 is probably the way to go. Otherwise, I think the DC03 is actually really, really good. So if you look at the specs here, compare that to the Shanling UA2. Shanling UA2 has the top of the line ESS DAC in it, 85 bucks. But spec-wise, besides the DSD support, I think the Cirrus Logic chip in the DC03 is very, very capable for this price. At $70 is actually really good. So I would now change my recommendations. If you're on a budget and you have a balanced headphone, then the DC01 is the one to get. Otherwise, the DC02 is very, very comparable to the Shanling UA1, might be even a little bit better actually. The DC03 is actually comparable or better than the Shanling UA2. So all these iBaso chips all these iBaso USB-C DACs are actually really, really good. So these are actually now my recommendations. Take a look at these iBaso DACs. They're actually really, really good. And then the Musalands are not as good at value. I mean, you can look at the chips here, and they also advertise some other like super DSP type of technology in it, which I don't know if that affects the price or not. But just looking at the specs, they're just not as good. I mean, the Musaland MU01 is very, very basic DAC. This is like, I'm talking AudioQuest Dragonfly Black level. like very basic, maybe even worse than the AutoQuest Dragonfly actually, but it's only $35. But if you're paying $35, then might as well just add like a few extra dollars and then get an iBeso, right? Why would you go for something this low? So I would not recommend the MZ01 even at $35 because it's just super low level. I would pay a few extra dollars to get one of the Shanlings or the iBesos. And then the ME02 and ME03s, at these prices, I just feel like they're outclassed by the iBesos. I mean, just check the specs. I just think the iBesos outclass them. So I don't know. I know they advertise some other technology, DSP technology or something like that. I just don't really think that value-wise they can compete with the iBesos or the Shanlings. Because yeah, $125 for this chip. I mean, yeah, this is the same chip as the iBeso DC03, but the iBeso DC03 is $70. So that's $55 cheaper. So yeah, and for some reason this chip supports DSD256 from the specs, but Museland advertises their DAC as only supporting DSD128. So I don't get what's up with that. Did they not try to support DSD256 even though the chip supports it? I don't understand that. So anyways, that's my opinions on these new DACs here. I really do think these iBeso DACs are really nice. So go take a look at these. So yeah, previously my recommendations for the Shanling UA1, UA2, I still do recommend these if you can find them. But also take a look at the DCs, the iBeso DC DACs, if you can find them, because these are all pretty good value, I think. None of the Muselands I would recommend actually, but look at the iBesos, and then the Hibis again for the MQA support, if you really want MQA support. So that would be my TLDR on this. Hibis for the MQA support, iBesos and Shanlings are my recommendations overall. So take a look at these guys. So that's my opinions on that. And one other thing I'm going to add to this video is I have my friend Eric, who's an audiophile. He knows really well the differences between different audio products, like IEMs, headphones, speakers, DACs, etc. So he's going to give his impressions of the UA1 versus the UA2, and I'm also going to throw in my Astro and Kern player, which is pretty much the same DAC as the AK USB-C DAC right here. So pretty much he's going to give his impressions of the UA1, UA2, and the AK DAC. And yeah, I'm going to let him talk about it, and he can figure out the differences a lot better than me. His ear is a lot better than mine, and I trust his opinion for this. So if you guys are interested, then stay tuned. My friend's going to give his impressions of all three of these DACs, and I hope it's useful for you guys.
Just about AKB, but this interesting though. This UA1 is actually pretty close to.
It should be what's it's the same.
Close.
It's the same as what's in UA.
Yeah,
oh,
pretty close. They sound different, but in terms of like pure quality,
because their tuning might be different because of how they implemented it, but it's the same chip.
they sound pretty different. However, like the actual the quality level of the sound in terms of like the detail is actually about the same. So yeah, so they actually sound like they're pretty much on the same level. These two things, although they sound different, but on the same level. Yeah, like this one has a more forward mid range, and a more forward mid bass. Actually, even a more forward treble. This one, everything is not quite as forward. But if you really want to listen in terms of the detail, they're really about the same. So you're saying their DACs are about the same? These two?
It's the same DAC. Same DAC design, is the way they implement it might be different.
Okay, no wonder. So this one has a bit more consumer-friendly sound with a slight bass on, so you can hear the bass guitar a little bit better. This one.
Yeah. Well, because ESS chips can vary depending on the manufacturer.
Well, it's just the implementation.
Yeah, the implementation can be different.
Yeah, but either way, like in terms of like audio quality, it's about the same. These two.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty cool actually for $45.
And it's $45.
That's pretty cool. That's a game changer already, honestly.
Yep.
That means in the future, if I buy a phone, I don't have to worry about having a quad DAC in there.
You're getting this one, the LG pretty much equivalent for $45.
Exactly. I can get the phone with the best camera now. I don't care about audio quality. Just get one of those.
Just get a Samsung and plug that with it.
Exactly.
How about let's do the AK because it should be it has a Cirrus Logic chip.
Either way, that UA1.
Yeah.
I think it sounds better than the Dragonfly Black that I have.
Oh shit, Dragonfly Black is a really crappy DAC.
Okay, no
like I looked it up, and it's like it's yeah, it's a joke. So like, and when you're paying like what $100 or something for that one, like it's a joke.
Because the Dragonfly Black, when I did an A/B test with
like this is way better than Dragonfly Black for half the price.
Okay. Yeah, because Dragonfly Black I did an A/B test last year. Not with this one. but with my old phone, the G4. And the G4 is just a standard phone DAC, so nothing special. I actually found that it didn't sound better than the standard phone DAC. Actually, the G4 I think in some ways sounded even better than the Dragon.
This is the black. When I looked up, like it's easily the worst out of all the DACs I saw. So, yeah. So how is it?
It's good. It's clearly better.
It's really good, right? This is the top end DAC, so.
Okay, yeah, it's clearly better. I mean, this is when you're starting to enter into like actual like high-end hi-fi.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot fuller everywhere, all in mid-range. It digs deeper for the bass.
Yep.
More texture in the treble, especially in the drums. It's good. I like it. This is a more reference sound than the UA1. It was actually really good for what it is. I mean, for that price, I mean, come on. It's as good as this one. It just sounds different. This one is a bit more reference tuned than the UA1.
Okay.
Because that one, the UA1, they actually tried to up some of the sounds, like the mid bass and everything, just to make everything sound more dynamic.
Okay.
But I can tell that the quality was actually the same type of quality sound. It's just that one they kind of tuned it up the mid bass a little bit, but it's the same quality type of sound in terms of texture and detail.
Yeah.
But this one sounded a bit more reference, but that one sounded more in your face, the impact. So it depends on what you want. This one actually they retuned it to sound a little bit more reference. So they got rid of some of that mid bass hump because this one the bass digs deep anyways. So there's more bass information here already. So there's no mid bass hump, but it just digs deeper. The treble is fuller, the mid range is fuller. Soundstage, pretty close. This one's maybe a little bit more soundstage, but it also sounds fuller too. Overall, it's just a better DAC than this one. So,
Yep. And it's only $85.
yeah, exactly. So this is
Not
actually.
even that much more.
So I might have to get one of these.
Yeah, I think so. This is the same one that's in the Cobalt. So, yeah, I would think the Cobalt would sound pretty similar to this. I wouldn't say it's definitely not like 4 times ours.
Yeah, this is actually good. Actually,
So Shanling makes some really good value stuff. So.
all the Chinese rap make good value stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean it basically shows like when AudioCrest and like THX releases new ones, like way overpriced.
Yeah, the UA2 is better than the AK.
Should be. But the AK should be better than the UA1s.
In some ways.
Yep.
But the AKs, I think, has a problem too, and that's the tuning. There's no soundstage for the AK. Like almost literally no soundstage. So it's actually kind of distracting sometimes when you're listening to it. In terms of pure detail, it might be a little bit better than like the UA1s. It sounds a bit warmer. It might be a little bit more detailed. But also I think they kind of upped a lot of stuff in there. So it just sounds a bit more like a romantic sounding type of thing. But when they did that, what happens was they got rid of all the soundstage by doing that. The UA2 sounds more reference, and just there's a bit more texture, more detail across the board. Yeah, everything is a bit more texture and detail. This one is, you can kind of say it's kind of in between the two, I guess, but then I don't like the tuning. It's a fun sound, though. It's a very fun sound, in your face, warm, but there's no soundstage. So it's almost like the whole band's come together in the center, and they're like right beside each other, elbows touching elbows. Yeah. Whereas like when you listen to like say the actual quad DAC here, and when you listen to like this one, the soundstage is a bit more accurate. You can hear like exactly where the members are on stage, but you don't really hear that with the AK. With the AK, they just make everything like kind of in your face, and it sounds cool, kind of like that, like everything warm. So it's a fun sound. So it's kind of fun. But this one is just more reference, slightly better sound, more detail, and you get the soundstage as well. And also this one, the bass is I think more accurate. This one they kind of up the mid bass a bit too, but this one kind of just has a higher quality bass that digs a bit deeper.
You should get that one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get this one. Yeah, I'm gonna get this one.
That's gonna be a huge upgrade for any phone that you get.
Well, this is just a game changer because from now on I don't have to care about quad DACs anymore.
Yeah. For any phone that you can get the best camera phone. You stick this on it.
Just choose the best camera phone, the features I want. Don't have to do a quad DAC, and this is already my awesome music thing. That's really good. Yeah, that's good.
And this is better than my AK, which is a dedicated DAP.
Dude, this thing's like $1,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like $700. So like,
yeah, exactly.
This is better than the dedicated music player. So yeah, for $85. So yeah, this one's definitely the best deal.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's really good actually. It's a really nice game changer.
Yeah. I think so. That's why when I saw it, I was like, okay, I have to get this one.
That's a good buy.
It has it balanced out too, which is really cool.
It's got balance out. Yeah, that small one, right? Right beside down.
Yeah. So
that's really nice, man. That's a nice one. My only small complaint with these Shanling ones, which might not even be their fault, is that once I plug it in, and I need to find, it's hard to find the correct volume because like the volume jumps up quite a bit. So if I just go next stage, it's quite a bit loud. If I go one stage down, it's a little bit too quiet. So whereas like when using the quad DAC, the volume, when I use the phone's quad DAC here, they actually specially programmed the volume attenuator to match the quad DAC. So once they know you're listening to music through the quad DAC, it goes up by like 0.25 increments. So for the quad DAC here, I can always find my perfect volume. Yeah, which is actually really important for hi-fi stuff. That's why like my DAC at home, the Stealth, the DC one, it goes up by 0.25 increments too. It doesn't just go 1, 2, 3. It goes 0.25, 0.5. And that's why I can always find the perfect balance. Whereas like when I put the Shanling in, I can't. And I'm not sure is this something to do with the actual phone itself? Because maybe it just doesn't use the quad DAC. Because you see, if I don't use the quad DAC, and then I just use the regular like onboard DAC here, then it's the same thing. The volume attenuator just jumps up too fast. So I'm not sure, is this something that Shanling can actually do to change it from that end when I plug it in, or is it something just I can't? Like they can't do anything.
It should depend on the phone.
Yeah.
So that's up to the phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing they can do about it then.
No, because it's just a dongle.
They can't control they don't know what your phone you're using. You could even use it on a Switch. Like it doesn't even have to be a phone. You can use it on your Switch too. So yeah, so they have no idea. You can use it on your computer too. It's a USB-C DAC, so you can plug it. Anything that has USB-C, you can plug it into. So
have you tried using it on your Switch?
no. Well, I haven't played anything portably. So, but I mean, it's cool though because you can use it. Since it's such a versatile thing, you can use it anything, like MacBook, Switch, right, phone, anything. So it's because it's USB-C, it's like a dongle. The only important thing is you have to not, because it's a dongle, you have to make sure not that you lose it. That's the only thing. But it's super like versatile and portable though. Yeah, you can just like put it in your pocket or anything. So yeah, just you gotta make sure not to lose it.
Cool. Can you send me the website where you bought it from?
I already sent you it like twice.
I didn't get anything.
Did you get anything?
Nope. Strange.
It's a Linsol.